Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is the Woo Report, episode 85. I'm your host, Sam Woo, with special guests from Pucks and Pitchforks blog. He is the ultimate contributor, Vinnie Parise, streaming live on Facebook Live, Twitter Live, YouTube Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. Bring back Pickles. Blake Coleman belongs in Jersey. That's what some people think. Some people don't want to deal with Pickles. Vinnie, welcome to the Woo Report. This is your debut on camera, actually.
I'm incredibly excited to be on the Woo Report. I've been dreaming of this moment for a long time. I watch every day, and I'm always excited to hear what you got to say every time you do it. And let's talk some Blake Coleman.
Oh, absolutely. I got to tell you, though, the hashtag We Want Quinn has been showing up on YouTube Live, Twitter, and Facebook Live. But let's stick to the subject, because you wrote an article out on pucksandpitchforks.com. Our editor-in-chief, our boss, Nick Villano, loves the content you put out. But this one caught my eye. About the possibility, now that he's no longer a restricted free agent, he's going to be unrestricted free agent. Tell me why you want Blake Coleman on the New Jersey Devils for a second tour of duty.
Yeah, so with the blog, it was a little interesting because I wanted to appease both sides. There are people that don't want them to pay him all this money, and there are people that seem like they would be willing to do whatever he wanted. I'm kind of in the middle. If he wanted a contract that was fair and wouldn't be considered an albatross contract 3, 4, 5 years from now, then I'm all for it, because the team's oldest forward is Andreas Johnson, who's no older than, 28? When a guy like that's your oldest forward, you could probably use some veteran leadership there, and Blake Coleman's right around there, but he's a defending 2-time Stanley Cup champion. Most of the roster is young kids who are trying to make their way in the league. Even the captain, Nico Hischier, isn't fully developed yet, and they all got a long way to go. And I just think, in terms of just pure hockey, Blake Coleman would be a great fit. If they're giving him 5-6 mil, that might be a little much, and then I'd probably veer away from it. But if it's a 4 or 5 year deal at 3.5, maybe 4 mil, that's about on par for a guy who consistently scores 20 goals a season. If this year wasn't a shortened season, he would have scored 20 for sure, because he had 14 in 55 games, which over 82, I'm not a big math guy, but I used a calculator. It does translate to 20 goals over 82 games. So that would have been a third straight year of having 20. He's not making teammates around him better offensively. He doesn't rack up the assists like most 20-goal scorers do, but he kills penalties. You can use him on the power play if you want. He's awesome at even strength. There are just so many positives that a guy like that could bring to a young team like the Devils.
Well, I like the hustle, and I'm going to use a LeBron James analogy. It's a little different, but it's somewhat the same. Blake Coleman never went off to college. His college was going to the Tampa Bay Lightning for 2 years and learned how to become a winner. And there's a lot of value in that. Tremendous amount of value. What it takes to win the Stanley Cup. And he double majored during a pandemic and when you had a crowd in the stands when you won the cup. So that intangible is very valuable. You saw what happened with Pat Maroon. Wherever he got shipped off, he was able to, make his mark and was a big part of the playoff push. Now with Blake Coleman, there's people like Matt Junio on the Facebook Live says he's maybe too old. You're going to pay a high price regardless with free agency. This guy, I think, may be worth it only because he did grow up in the Devils system, was drafted by the Devils. Under some circumstances, he got traded. The Devils got a great return back. If he comes back to New Jersey, I don't think it's a bad thing. Now, if the Dallas Stars overpay because he's a Texas boy and, his wife Jordan, goes with them, being former cheerleader, maybe that'll work out too. But I just like the fact that at least that conversation, I think I think the Devils need to take a hard look on it. Now that Bastian's gone, could you actually plug him in and maybe that energy line would be the third line instead of fourth, given the maturity of Michael McLeod, and Miles Wood upping his game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There are so many things that he brings that he learned over the last 2 years with Tampa that he can now apply to the Devils if he were to come back. So, like you mentioned, an energy line. They don't really have that. You expect Nico and Jack to drive the top two lines. And I'm not saying Nico and Jack are Braden Point or Steven Stamkos, but you look to build two top scoring lines like that in order to compete for a cup. And those guys are simply on a trajectory to do that. So if you build a good third line with a foundation of a guy like Coleman, maybe you put him with Miles Wood to try and replicate what Andre Palat does. I'm not saying Miles Wood is Andre Palat, but they're similar type players. Mm-hmm. And try to find your version of Barclay Goodrow. Who might that be? Could it be Pavel Zacha? There are so many different options that I think inserting Blake Coleman will kind of fit everyone else into the right spot in the forward lineup. We talked about being a leader and all that. There are lots of ways to go out and find leadership. But when you have so much cap space and the most veteran player on your team is Subban, who's probably going to be gone after this year, you got to figure out a way to supplement the roster, and Blake Coleman is definitely someone who supplements the roster. The Lightning gave up a lot to get him. Clearly, that organization believed that adding a player like him is pivotal to taking that next step. There was a point they couldn't beat the Blackhawks. They couldn't beat the Rangers when they were both of those teams were in their prime. They had a hard time dealing with the Bruins, and they probably would always beat the Leafs because they always choke. But just Tampa Bay saw a first-round pick and a top prospect like Nolan Foote as a fair payment for a guy like that, and it worked out for them. So now if the Devils turn around and bring him back, then you got that first-round pick. A lot of people don't like Shakir Muhammadulin, but we'll see about him in a couple years. But Nolan Foote certainly could be a nice player. And then you get Blake Coleman back. I think it would just make the Devils look good.
Yeah, and you know what? At the end of the day, from a business standpoint, we'll sell tickets. Pickles had a big fan club in New Jersey. Everybody liked him. Some of us were sad that he was gone, and I understand the analytics and the age and the cap, but the whole time that he was in Tampa, as a fan standpoint, it was almost like, wait a second. He's out of play. He's ours. Not to be like controlling, possessive, all that stuff. But that's our guy. He trained. He grew up, and now, like I said, he went off to college. I'm using a LeBron. The Devil shipped off his talents to Tampa, not South Florida, but Tampa.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing, right? Just a different coast, right? So, and now, hey, he's a family man right now, 2 kids, all that. If anything, I mean, we tagged him on the Twitter post that if anything, we're going to drive up the price, So if he doesn't come to the Devils, I hope he's making, $9 million somewhere else, But
if someone was going to see him go home and play for Dallas, that's always something people have been talking about.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, with Blake Coleman, I think it'd be nice. Do you really think that Fitzgerald could pull it off? I don't think so, though. Does it go along with the team? I'm playing devil's advocate now. No pun intended. Like I'm trying to, looking from because I'm seeing all these comments. I don't want Coleman. Wrong direction, like that kind of thing. Do you see that?
I understand the sentiment from people who don't want him. To me, it's all about value. If you get a contract of value for a guy like Coleman, he fits right in hockey-wise. If you ignore the financials and all that kind of stuff, the Devils are nowhere near the cap. And I'm starting to get excited because I think they're going to get Dougie Hamilton. I really am starting to think so. I had this feeling about Seth Jones with the Hawks earlier in the week. Like, and it came true. I'm not every time I have a feeling something's going to come true, but like we kind of felt like they were going to get Gusev a couple years ago, and then they did. This
Yeah.
Dougie Hamilton thing, there's legs to it, and I think them signing Tony D today, that's a sign that maybe they think that Dougie's gone because they play a similar style game. They're very dissimilar off the ice, but that's a story for another day. I think.
Did you see that? Did you see that tweet about Dougie Hamilton buying a Jersey Shore house in Avon or something like that?
It would be so on brand.
You just better not. You just better not go west to Philadelphia. That's all I have to say. And then you better not go north and then veer east to New York. Either team,
Yeah,
he's got to be in Jersey.
The Rangers would be scary. I think the Flyers are out on pretty much every defenseman at this point. They got Ristolainen. They traded for Ellis. They signed Keith Yandel today. So, I mean, the Flyers are out of the mix for me. I did think the Blackhawks were in contention for him before the Seth Jones trade. It wouldn't shock me if the Kings threw a bunch of money at him. But for me right now, it's between him going back to the Hurricanes, even with the D'Angelo signing, the Devils, obviously. And then it wouldn't surprise me if a team like Dallas or, team that's close but far, if that makes sense, goes for him and tries to put all their chips in Montreal. But I don't know. I like their chances at Hamilton, but Blake Coleman, he's got to be on a contract that's fair. It can't be like an overpayment. That's not a guy you overpay for.
Oh,
That's
yeah. At least you got to try, Fitzy. Fitzy, if you're watching right now, just try. Just try, okay? And if you need to have us fans set up a GoFundMe and chip in, I'll chip in for Blake Coleman.
Yeah, I'll chip in. You call him, if you're Fitzgerald, you call him and you say, listen, Blake, you've been here, you're comfortable here, you've had success here. Your success here allowed you to go have more success somewhere else, and you're comfortable here. You know the core, I would say, at least. Did he play with Jack? I want to say he did not play with Jack. Maybe. I don't know. He definitely played with Nico. Ty Smith.
No, he played with Jack. He played with Jack. Jack's first season. Yeah, Jack. Yeah. Just barely, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so Mackenzie Blackwood, all the young guys, Damon Severson, there are so many guys he's familiar with there. And you wonder, you want to come take a hometown discount, try and win here? We'll see what happens. So if that were the case, I'd be all in.
Yeah. At Luis Kreis says Seattle might go for him. That would be interesting. I mean, I talked about this several times that the thing with Dallas and Seattle is there's no state income tax. So the value of his contract is a little bit more. It's a decent amount of change. Also, Omar Barr says Sam Fitz said during the interview they would love Coleman. Absolutely. Also, you're going to hate this, that David Decker says that not Vinnie, Zach Parise is washed up. He doesn't want him back. I know he's a fan favorite to some, including you, Vinnie. Also, let's address, before we go, let's address we want Quinn. We want Quinn. Because we talked about it on Friday and Sunday. Our Friday live draft event at Enzo's and on the Sunday edition podcast that it looked like Quinn wanted to be, just facial expressions. We gotta hire forensic people to look at the body language of Quinn Hughes when that happened. What do you think?
Yeah, have you ever seen that SpongeBob meme where Squidward's looking out the window and he sees SpongeBob and Patrick outside having fun and he's like stuck inside watching? That's Quinn Hughes. He's watching Jack and Luke have all this fun. They're going to be teammates. It's going to be awesome. I wish the NHL, the teams in the NHL would have a little more spine and use those offer sheets. There's no reason for the Devils not to say, oh, Vancouver, you paid Bo Horvat. You have Oliver Ekman-Larsson at $1 billion for the next 6 years now. You're paid Connor Garland. You're going to have to pay Elias Pettersson. we're going to try and offer sheet Quinn Hughes. There's no excuse not to try. Oh, you're going to make enemies across the league? Every team in the league would be smart to offer sheet Quinn Hughes. And I think I know if a 5 or 6 teams sent him an offer sheet, I have a gut feeling which one he would choose. It's just crazy to me to think that nobody would ever even consider it. Montreal tried it with Svechnikov 2 years ago, or not Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho. And they didn't even offer sheet him that much. It was an easy match for Carolina. They didn't have the spine to do the 8 or the 9 or 10 mil, give up that extra draft pick. No player that the Devils would draft over the next 5 or 6 years, especially if they continue to get better, will be as good as Quinn Hughes. So I think sometimes people overvalue draft picks. You got to go for that guy. If you truly think he'll sign the offer sheet, you got to do it.
It's just a matter of how much that offer sheet is worth and how many picks you would get. Now, this is a very unique situation here because Quinn, not saying he would do it. We don't know what his agent would say or what he would say, but your 2 other brothers are on the other team. You don't want to actually cost the team draft picks and jeopardize the future of the organization that you're going to draft well and keep that pipeline flowing as you're trying to go after a Stanley Cup, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years from now. So it's kind of like a situation where it's like, Quinn, are you going to bite the bullet and join us? And I hope the pressure is going to get to him because you don't need a body language expert to see how Jack Hughes felt about that. And something about the way he reacted was more than about having your little brother on the team. He probably knows this kid's good. You just let him grow up, let him do his thing, let him put some more size to that 6'2" frame because he may have not stopped growing. Who knows? And suddenly you got a dynamic duo. Could you add in the third Hughes brother there? And
yeah, Jack, he also knows how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw the progression that he took this past season. It's going to be a while before he reaches his max potential. I think another year or 2. Luke is a lot different than Quinn. People think he's going to come in and be the exact same player as Quinn. I think Luke is a little more two-way, and Quinn has a high offensive IQ. He's very good on the power play, can make that great first pass, awesome setting up 1-Ts for snipers. I think the 3 of them on the same team would be interesting, but I agree. Luke is the biggest of the 3 in terms of stature, and Jack knows. Not only you said it, not only do we got my brother, he's so sweet at hockey. And he was the second highest pick Hughes brother. When Quinn fell, people had same thoughts on him, like, oh, is he going to be able to do this? What about his skating? Luke's the opposite. He's probably the best skater in the class, and that includes some of the picks ahead of him. So we'll see if it happens. Hashtag bring Quinn. What is it? Bring Quinn. We want Quinn.
Hashtag we want Quinn. Now, I'm going off this hashtag. We have Brian Adams that says not available offer sheet this year. We got another one, Pat K666. Hughes can't be offer sheeted. Again, and also Getty27 says let Quinn sign a bridge deal, and when Luke is here, Quinn can come around the same time. That's what our fans are saying. I said, look, I think ultimately, Fitzy, just stay the course. Stay the course. Because in a few years from now, you're going to have to pay Jack Hughes.
Yeah.
If anything, I think the Devils should just suck it up and send him a long-term deal, just like the Nico Hischier plan, right now while he's happy, and get him locked down. Because any prospective free agents are going to look, you've got Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes the next 5 to 6 years down the middle, and they haven't even reached their potential yet. Hey, I'll jump on the bandwagon. I'll sign a 2-3 year deal in New Jersey. I'll help them out, And, again, anything can happen. But I also think that Dougie Hamilton in that situation, I think you need to get a deal done for that. You're going to have to sometimes overpay for a player in order to get the dominoes started. Because then free agents are going to say, hey, the Devils aren't a cheap team that's always at the floor. They're willing to spend. They were just rebuilding, and they're pivoting right now. Ray Shero did that with PK Subban trade. He did that with the Gusev signing. He did that getting lucky and drafting Jack Hughes. But I think this is the real pivot point, and I think Fitzy knows, and I don't think he's signed, unless they have some kind of gentleman's agreement, I don't think he has a long-term contract as GM. This is his moment to shine where we got to start winning or showing some signs, resemblance of winning culture. Otherwise, Harris and Blitzer may turn in a different direction. You don't know. And I think it's Fitzy's moment to shine right now. And I think he's got the tools to do it and the green light to show him what he's got. Yeah,
I agree. And they were talking about it on NHL Network. This fan base could use some rejuvenation. It's very down. Not a lot of people believe in what's going on. There are people that are down on Nico, down on Jack. When you look at the numbers, especially analytics, Nico's arguably better than Jack. He could be a top line center. Mm-hmm. And the points aren't always there. I don't think his offensive ceiling is necessarily where Jack is or where some of the top star centermen in the league are, but he's a very good player. He arguably has had the best rookie season of a number 1 overall pick since McDavid. Mm-hmm. I his rookie year over Rasmus Dahlins. I would take his rookie year over Jack Hughes's. I would take his rookie year over Alexis Lafreniere's. And it's really not even close. Did Taylor Hall help? Sure. But did Nico help Taylor Hall? Sure. Because how's Hall done since leaving Nico? So.
Yeah. And now I don't think Hall wants to be the guy anymore. So maybe it'll work out for him.
He's the 4th best player on his team now. Maybe 5th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Vinny, it was a pleasure. We got to do this more often. One last comment, Thomas Zott on YouTube Live. Devs won't sign Coleman unless he's treated as a legit top 6. That's a healthy opinion.
Yeah.
You could be right.
Not a top 6 for me.
Yep. Lisa Roth in the Facebook Live said we got so used to good years, so we kind of forgot how we started. No one's perfect forever, all the time. All fans get frustrated with the lack of winning. I would agree. Yeah. And also on Twitter Live, Vancouver seems to be spending a lot of dough. Will they have enough left over for Quinn at Batman 2465? Again, maybe in a couple years. We're just getting ahead of ourselves, and that's okay. All right, well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, watching, listening in. It will be dropped on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart app, Amazon Music Prime, Audible, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you, Vinny, from Chicago. We'll be back. And tomorrow, Nick Villano and I are on Breaking News Alert. So keep it here. Set your alerts on the Let's Go Devils podcast. This is the Woo Report. Till next time, let's go Devils!